Welcome back, guys, to another episode of 222. And this week, Steve McKenzie and I are going to talk about pornography on Netflix and a little bit more about where Steve's been and how he's doing. Stick around. For those of you that don't know, this is Steve McKenzie. We started a channel on YouTube a long time ago.
4 years ago, almost.
4 years?
This year. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay.
September 2016.
Good grief. Okay. Yeah. Almost 4 years ago. And then life happened for both of us and we weren't able to continue on. But I wanted to bring him back so that we can talk, catch up a little bit more. And, I want him to tell his story so you can hear that. And we've got some questions and we'll dive into some other stuff later. But first, go ahead and give me, if you want to kind of tell your story about how you got sucked into pornography and then how you got out, and as much as you want to put in between.
Okay. I grew up in the 90s and came of age in the 90s. So right as the birth of the internet is coming on. And like everybody else, I got exposed to some stuff at school. I was really lucky that my family didn't, if anybody was doing anything, they didn't leave it laying around. So it was mostly just stuff that, the internet's the wild, wild west, finding stuff there, finding, just stuff people, like I said, brought to school and just random stuff. And I was a very shy, introverted child. So I think the introverts get sucked in easier because we don't really have a way. I had very low self-esteem. So I didn't have any girlfriends. I didn't have any really close girlfriend, friend girls that were just friends. So yeah. I didn't have any outlet or anything. So it's just, that's where I went. And then it kind of held me there. So I got, I graduated from school. The internet's getting better, faster. And that's a bad thing though. So, yeah. And I just developed a routine because I'm a very routine person, so it just became part of my routine, going to work. I went straight to work out of high school. So, I just developed a routine. It was work and porn and video games. That was it. And I gained a lot of weight, and I didn't really do anything. My family was all my social, network, and even church, because we always went to small churches or done at family church. So I didn't have my social group wasn't expanded. It was the people I worked with, which I've always been in manufacturing. So it's not like it's mostly people that were older than me. It was not people I just go hang out with. So about 2012, one of my little brothers had joined the military, and he got married before me, and him and his wife had a son. So I went to visit my nephew, and I was holding him, and I was just like, I don't want to be Fat Uncle Steve. I don't want to be the uncle that he finds, he's visiting and he finds porn at. I don't want to be that uncle.
Yeah.
And so God had already set everything up for me. It was like the most wonderful thing ever, because my church was just starting. That was in August of 2012. We went to see him in Georgia. We came back, and then Christ Chapel starts the next 2 weeks later. And we also started this Biggest Loser thing at work, the next like within a couple of weeks. So all this happens like really close together. I'm like, and so I buckled down, but it was a really hard 2-year fight because I knew that I needed to quit. But like any addiction, it was hard to beat it. So I would quit for a while, and then something would happen, stress me out, and then that's where I would turn to. So it took 2 solid years, but I was doing other stuff too. So I'm trying to work out, trying to expand, because I'm going to a new church that's my family's not involved in at all. So I'm expanding my social map there. I'm gaining more friends that are good friends. You know, I'm going to I picked up a lot of great friends from Christ Chapel, and they're still good friends. And they're people I can turn to right now and talk to about anything. And definitely not somebody that's in my family that I'm afraid to talk to about. And then, so I just really, my church and developing a physical routine of exercise that took up time and gave me some motivation really helped. And I mean, all that's God working together. I can look and see where God put people in my path to help me. And even though they didn't know that they were helping me, they didn't come to me and say, "Hey, Steve, you need to quit porn." Or, "Hey, Steve, you know, what are you doing when you're home?"
Yeah.
They just the fact that they were mentors, and they, like I said, they didn't know that they were helping me. They just were there to give me support and have somebody to talk to. And it like I said, it took 2 solid years after I really buckled down to break it. And then, you know, you're a man, it's hard, but it's been yeah. So that was, I really broke it in 2014. So it took me 2 years, 2014. And it's something that you fight it at least a little bit just about every day, just like any other, you know.
Yeah.
And right now, it's just the stress level is insane, you know. So
yeah. As you
but
said,
like me and Eugene, we went to Nicaragua in 2015 together, and in 2016. In 2016, we came back, and we do our. It's so late now. I can't. My brain's not even thinking. Our what do we do on the radio in Nicaragua? Our
testimonies.
our testimony. So we've done our testimony, and so I'm listening to Eugene's testimony and on the radio in Nicaragua, and he brings up porn, and I barely squeaked it out. I got just a little bit in, and then I came back to God's like, you need to get with Eugene, and you need to do better. You know, you need to do something. So I'm like, so I call up Eugene. I'm like, let's do at least do a YouTube video. And then we went all out. We're going to do this channel. But I think that, and kind of explaining what happened since then, is we done what God told us to do, and we both were blessed like immediately. So like, I got married like 3 months after our YouTube, like we started YouTube, and then your business just blew up. Yeah. And so that's what happened. You know, you do what God tells you to do, and then you reap that blessing there.
Yeah.
So I went from being single, very lonely, to now I'm married and I have 3 kids, and I'm not lonely at all. I want my free time back. That's what's that's sort of my condensed story.
Yeah. I know there's definitely I know there's more than that. You know, there's all the details in between that are, you know, good, bad, and the ugly. But, you know, and I do get it about stress and about kids. Because 2016. Well, I guess I would have had, since then I have, you know, I've adopted a son and have another foster son in my home. So now I've got 6 kids in my
Yeah.
house, and we're finally, hopefully in the next couple months, going to get a second bathroom. So that'll be good. Happy things in life.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, it definitely has, and it's still, work is still going good. So, right now it's 10:30 at night, and we're getting to do this video. So that explains exactly what is going on.
Oh yeah.
Finding time in our schedule. But at the same time, staying busy can be a good thing too in our situation, so that it helps lessen the opportunity to fall back into really stupid stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, like, have you, and I know, our wives are going to watch this and whatever, maybe they won't, who knows? They don't want to hear us ramble on, but like, have you, since, God has really pushed us through this, have you had any moments of struggle, and especially now in this wonderful quarantine time?
Oh yeah.
Have you had any struggle?
I've been really strong, and in this quarantine, my stress levels. So I'll just put it like that: the stress level is really high.
Yeah.
I haven't done. My wife asked me, "Have you done anything stupid?" And I haven't done anything stupid, but it's really like the devil's ramped up temptation right now, and it's been more of a struggle really here lately. And it's when I first got married, it's really easy. You're in love, and you got, I'll just say you finally get what you want. So I got what I wanted, and then
marital benefits.
But the stress really brings out the bad in you sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, it pushes you towards your coping mechanisms.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
You unfortunately get stuff even from a young age as to what you use to cope. Mine, as we, talked about, mine's sugar,
Oh yeah. Well, mine's sugar too.
It's any addiction. And so we have to figure out what's setting us off, and then do our best. We're supposed to, like, those thoughts that come in, we're supposed to take them captive and give them to Christ. And, you've got to do that before you fall down that path.
Yeah.
I mean, what have you been doing? What would you say has worked best for you to, when those moments of stress come, when those moments of just like you're about to blow a fuse, what have you found works for you?
Just remembering what God has done for me, like going all the way back to like when we done the video, because that I could really see a life change happen right then. And just saying, because I was obedient, God blessed me. And if I'm going to keep being blessed, I have to stay obedient. And it's, I love my wife, and I want to respect her. And so anytime, it's just thinking, if I do something and she finds out, I'm dead.
Yeah.
So there's also the survival instinct that kind of kicks in. But yeah, it's still like, I don't want to disappoint her.
Right.
I don't want to disappoint, I look at my kids. I'm like, I don't want them to see that. Yeah. I don't want them to see you. It's not only that you don't want them to see that, but that you don't want them to see you seeing that.
Right. Yeah.
You don't want that to be, and that's, and then, but the kids are also part of the thing that's pushing you, adding to that stress level.
They're like, here's a can of gas, Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had at Christmas time, there was a situation, and I had to yell at one of my nephews. So I went to work, and I was telling them the story of me yelling at my 4-year-old nephew. He's 4. He's 5 now, but he was 4 at the time. And how he just like turned into this like an ice cube, and he melted right in front of me when I started yelling at him, because I'm 6'4" and I'm 260 pounds. So when when you're getting yelled at by a guy that's that much bigger than you are, and they were laughing so hard at the story because they're like, you don't yell. You're not a yell. What? They weren't laughing because they were laughing at the thought of me yelling at somebody. And it's because I have this, I'm such a calm person for the most part. Just the thought of me yelling at somebody made them, they thought it was hilarious. It was.
Yeah, most people think I'm relatively chill, but like there's also the dad voice. Yeah. And every dad knows what a dad voice is. And sometimes you got to use it, and sometimes you got to use it on other people's kids. Unfortunately, I've done that before, and then I pull back and I'm like, oh, whoops, sorry. Yeah.
I noticed like it's easier to talk to other people's kids now and tell them what to do. Like in a public thing, like at a meal, like a family meal, and you see one, stop it. Yeah, that's not your kid. I don't care. They're going to stop it.
I'm normally I'll snap my fingers.
Yeah.
I'm like they're a dog. Oh, and there I coughed. See, I knew I was going to do it at some point. It's not Corona. But anyway, one thing we were talking about was, the guilt of telling your spouse. And that's, with a lot of things, that's, that, and a lot of times that's helped me to avoid that kind of stuff. Because it's like, don't get me wrong. I mean, we should be more not scared, but like feel more guilt of telling God. But at the same time, God already saw what you did. But like for me to tell my wife that I messed up and to see that disappointment on her face is like, I don't want to say it's the worst, but it's like on this side of heaven, it's the worst. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the worst to say, hey, I screwed up again. And to see, my wife is, we've had a lot of talks about it, over the years. And so like it's more for her now I see the disappointment, but at the same time, she just kind of amps up her game with me, and she checks on me more often in those moments, because she knows if I'm admitting to it, then I'm kind of in that stressful spot or whatever. And so she'll check on me more often and ask me, like, if I'm working a late night or whatever, she'll say, hey, did you look at anything stupid? Did you do anything stupid in it? And 99% of the time I can, say, no, I'm good. There's those temptations. You watch a movie and you don't, we were talking about this before we recorded, you watch a movie and there's stuff in it that you're not expecting at all. And you're like, and you're just like, oh, I didn't know that was in there, you just got.
We're always on is it IMBD?
Yeah.
Website, and going to the parental.
Yes, that's the only way we watch movies anymore.
We'll see a preview, man. That movie looks awesome. We'll look like, okay, we're never going to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the parental thing is a blessing. I mean, we're adults, but it sometimes it goes a little bit too much in detail. You're like, you didn't really want to know all that, but it's like, okay, we kind of set a max. We just don't watch rated R movies. It's just one of those things for us, that it's just like, okay, we're good, and every once in a while we'll think, oh, we're okay. This doesn't look bad. It's just for violence. And then we watch it and we're like, oh my gosh, this, that's horrible, and we let stuff slip in, and it affects you. So like, that's our first line of defense. And then when it's PG-13, we're like, okay, more than likely there might be, there's going to be language, blah, blah, blah. And so we have to like go in, like you said, and just search it out to see what kind of stupid things that Hollywood is going to put in a relatively, a movie that could be good without all that stuff. It frustrates me. But anyway, sorry, tangent.
Well, I quit watching Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Not because it has anything. I mean, there was like maybe a couple of scenes in the season, the first 1 or 2 seasons, and then it was just gore. But just the darkness that it can, you're submitting yourself to that darkness every time you watch it.
Yeah. Oh
And I
yeah.
loved it. I love apocalyptic type stuff. I grew up watching all this crazy stuff, so I loved Walking Dead. But I just came to the realization that it was so dark and that was affecting me, just because I was constantly thinking about it and like, what am I going to do? And like, well, obviously, I'm not going to do anything like The Walking Dead because it's never going to happen.
Right. Yeah. 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 No, I've done it. Like the Marvel series that are on Netflix. Like number one, the violence just goes ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've tried to watch a couple different ones, and it's like the first episodes will suck you in, and that's Any Temptation. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
they suck you in the first few episodes. You're like, oh, this is going to be good, and they get you into the plot and they get you into the story, and then they throw like. I remember watching Daredevil. Like I tried to watch Daredevil, and like the beatings and the violence were just horrible, and then they would add in just useless, pointless sex scenes, and I'm just like. I saw one and I'm just like, that didn't even need to be there. So,
Mm-hmm.
I knew I tried to watch two different series. And after that, I was like, I'm just going to stick with the movies, that
Mm-hmm.
Disney is now making. I was like, I'll just stick with those and hopefully those will stay decent. But yeah.
I read a lot of Michael Crichton growing up, and there's a show called Westworld.
Yeah.
And so I seen some previews. So I went and looked because as Michael Crichton had wrote the movie back in the 70s that it's based on. So he's dead now, so he doesn't have anything to do with this. But he wrote a movie back in the 70s called Westworld. So I was interested in it, and I looked it up, and I felt guilty for reading the IBM. It's so bad. It is so bad. I'm like, this shouldn't even, the stuff that they're getting away with, and you just got to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. And the online places can get away with a whole lot more.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, you see in a theater and it's one thing, even if it's rated R, but like the TV mature, they can get away with like anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, oh my word, it's scary. Like for our kids, what is it going to be like? For your kids are younger. What is it going to be like when they get to be teenagers? I'm like, it's already bad enough. I can't imagine in 6, 8 more years, 10 more years, what it's really going to be like, and what our kids are going to have to go through to fight against this garbage, because it's in everything. I'm not saying like, it wasn't in anything in the 70s and 80s and 90s, because it was obviously there. But like now it just seems like everything you look at, everything you touch, everything, everywhere you go on all these social media apps and all of that, it all turns to trash.
Yeah.
Even YouTube videos. Like my kids were watching some, family friendly kind of YouTube videos today, and there were 2 different videos that I'm just listening from across the room, and I'm like, nope, shut it off, because they don't even realize what they're saying, what the people are saying, because they're so young and luckily innocent. But I'm like, it's like all this kid stuff, and then all of a sudden it's talking about it was a dare, and they're like, go make love to the tree.
Oh.
And I was like, what? And then the second one was like, it was talking about 69 and 420. Ha ha ha. It's 420s in there. And I'm just like, I was like, guys, just shut it down. I was like, this is just nonsense. I was like, that does not need to be in there. It's just, and I get it, not everybody believes what we believe, of course, but like, come on, have a little bit of morals.
Yeah.
if you're making something that's supposed to be family friendly, leave the garbage out. You can do so much without that.
The great thing about YouTube is there are good videos. There are good family-based stuff that you don't have to worry about any, like you said, not everybody believes like we believe, but you don't have to worry about any of the indoctrination or anything that could be going on, like the slot stuff, and you don't have to worry about some of the ads that you would see just watching TV.
Yeah.
And my kids watch there's one called J House Blogs, and it's just a Christian family that goes everywhere. And the only thing I don't like about them watching it is that they're going to be jealous because these kids get to go do all this stuff, and they're stuck at home watching the kids do the stuff.
Yeah, they're getting the YouTube money.
But the videos that surround it, surround those videos, that's when you start fishing it, because there's another couple, and it looks pretty innocent, but they don't have any little kids. They got a little baby.
Yeah.
But it's two adults. And so there's some, even though they're clean as far as their language, they're adult conversations that they're having, because when it first started, she was pregnant, and they were going to the gynecologist and stuff, and my 6-year-old's watching. I'm like, no, you cannot watch that. You cannot watch that. You can watch J House blogs.
Yeah.
You cannot watch this other family. And but it's right there where you start with J House blogs, and then 2 videos down the line you're watching this other family.
Yeah.
And then down the line you're watching something else. There's also a bad thing about I don't know if you heard of this, but on YouTube there was a weird cult, sort of pedo cult going on, and they noticed that when you were watching like these little girls' videos, if you read the comments and actually understood what they were saying, it was sick. And so YouTube had to start taking people, like little kids' videos, off of YouTube because of these people that were, they were like, you had to know their language, but when you picked up on their language, they were very sick individuals watching little kids' videos. And if you're, your kid and you're starting to talk to those, you don't know what's going on. If you actually get on there and start communicating with those people, then that's a whole nother set of videos.
Yeah. People are nuts. So before we hit record again, we were talking about clickbait and all of that. And, I was just thinking about that when you were talking about that, is like, that's how, an addiction to pornography can happen. You know what I mean? Is that, you get sucked in. That's the definition of temptation right there, is like you see something that entices you, you will go in and watch it just because you see, we were talking about how people will put, cleavage or whatever on a thumbnail, just to get people to get sucked in on it. So, but
to get the views. Well, I like to say, sex sells.
Oh, absolutely. I still unfortunately remember when Hardee's was like, do you remember those commercials where it was like there was a chick laying on the front of a car eating a burger? You know what I mean? I was like, they were like taking the sarcasm but truth in that sex sells, and like taking it to the utmost level that they could and still get away with it. You know what I mean? Did I go
buy a PG-13 commercial?
Yeah. Did I go buy a burger? No. You know what I mean? But I'm sure there was somebody, that went and did that. And there's
sure there was more than a few somebodies that triggered them right there.
Oh, yeah.
They were fine until they were watching the football game, and then they see the
see
the Hardee's commercial. I'm like, all right, I'm done with football today.
Yeah. I think we covered everything, that my questions that I had. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
I've always wanted to do a video where we explained like what happened, because we just abruptly quit. But it's just, I wasn't ready for what happened. I knew I was doing God's will, but I wasn't ready for like God to just, they say your cup's overflowing. Yeah.
Here you go.
I'm drinking from my saucer. I'm drinking off the floor because it's just going everywhere. But it's just, my life has just been so crazy. And I've got to do a lot of great things, and it's been, wonderful. And going from, like I said, going from a single dude to holding my son in my arms, and for the first time, and it's just an amazing thing. And I've been really blessed for doing what I was supposed to do. I think I'm supposed to be doing this tonight. It's just a feeling I got. So hopefully you get some more blessings.
Well, here's the funny thing is, like, the other night I was like, okay, I know I need to do the next video. And so I wrote down a list of people, because I wanted to start doing interviews, because like nobody just wants to see my fat talking head, right? So I was writing down a list of people that I wanted to talk. And of course you were on the list, you were number one on the list. But I was like, I had put my wife on the list, and I was like, well, I'll ask her first, because that'd be the easiest to do, because we can actually be near one another, legally. So I asked her, and she's like, well, she wasn't really interested in doing it right now. I'm sure at some point she will. But it was funny because the next morning, your wife had posted a scripture that it was like the verse, I don't remember what book, but the verse was 22:20. But like God is always using like the 222, just the 3 2s in whatever form he can to remind me, don't forget what you're supposed to be doing. It's hilarious. Like, just
I understand completely.
Anyway, so Jess saw that. I had seen it and I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, look, it says 222. And I didn't, I just kept scrolling because that's what I do. But Jess sent me a screenshot. She goes, I think you should talk to Steve. And I was like, okay, I was like, I noticed that it was your wife, but it didn't like still, sometimes it takes our wives to help us, register as to what we're paying attention to.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But no, I mean, this has been good. Yeah. We definitely needed a follow-up video for sure.
Yeah.
What happened to Steve and Eugene? But I mean, a lot has happened. I mean, it's just,
yeah.
Yeah.
Three kids happened. That's it.
Yeah.
Back in that time around 2016, you're talking about how God's using 222.
Yeah.
For me, it was Even So Come on the radio. Christian Stanfield.
Yeah.
Even like the weirdest times. Because I had developed the routine of just listening to Christian radio. I wouldn't listen to anything else. And it would be like just the oddest times. I would get in the car, turn it on, and it would be playing. Or something would happen, and as soon as it would happen, it would come on radio. Because I always had Spirit FM on. And I'm to the point now I won't listen to it because I'm tired of hearing that song.
But God's like.
But the house I'm living in right now, so the first time when this house was for sale, I pulled into the driveway. As soon as we stopped the car in the driveway, Even So Come came on the radio. Just weird timing all the time.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah.
So I understand the 222 thing. God, in my opinion, and through my experience, will get your attention the way that he needs to get your attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not always the burning bush and, booming from heaven,
Yeah.
They're sending Moses and Elisha to talk to you. It's usually very subtle.
Yeah.
And if you learn to hone in on that language, then it'll help you out a lot, because you can really see where God's like stopping you, making you pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah. And sometimes I wish there was burning bushes, when I'm like, Lord, okay, what are you saying? I just want like that burning bush and hear, like, actually physically hear his voice, but he doesn't do that. He's the still small voice. You know what I mean? We just have just have to be honed in and willing to listen. That actually reminds me, let me pull out my Bible. The other day,
if we're going to do a Christian podcast or video, we have to have
the
Bible.
Well, no, it just reminded me of this other verse. I think I read a paper Bible, too.
Yeah.
This, like, I've read this before, and there was something else there was another reason that I bookmarked this, because talking about Juan and adopting him, and I was thinking about like God has adopted us, and I was literally like, and it's one of those moments. I was like driving down to my office, and I was just thinking about that connection. It was just a thought. I wasn't praying. There was no conversation between God and I that I knew of. Apparently there was on his side.
Yeah.
But Galatians 4, it talks about how, God brings us in as and we're heirs, even though we don't deserve it, even though we weren't of the Jewish descent and all of that, he still brings us in. But anyway, the other day I opened back up to this in verse 9. It says, "But now that you have come to know God, or rather to be known by God, how is it that you turn back again to the weak and worthless elemental things to which you desire to be enslaved all over again?" And I was like,
Yeah.
it's just like, I mean, not that like I was in that moment or like falling back, but I was like, dang, that's like a smack in the face kind of verse to say, how dare you, basically, how can you turn back to those worthless elemental things after you've seen what God can do? And I think that, that boils down to how, what you said, actually, yeah. Hey, see, full circle. What you said about how you stay away from things is to know that you look back to see what God has done for you, what God did after making that first video, and how, it just all kind of fell into place after that. So how could we possibly fall back into that trap, into that just vile, disgusting stuff, when we can see what God has done for us and the good that he does for us every single day. So,
that's awesome.
That was funny, because I don't know why that popped into my head. I was like, oh, that verse. And then rereading it, and then like, God's like, hey, you talked about that, and yeah, God is good. But anyway.
I had a dream similar to that where I felt like God was saying, sort of, it was a really interesting dream that I came to that conclusion too after the dream, that to be careful not to go back. Like it was an old truck I had that I was really fond of. I really liked the truck. But when I got the truck back in the dream, it was all kinds of problems. So it was sort of, my interpretation of the dream was, yeah, this is what you think you want, but it's not. You're not, this is going backwards. So it was really an interesting, and I mean, that's a little bit different but it's still the same as sort of, why go back,
Yeah.
Keep going.
Even when we have those stressful moments as dads, as husbands, you're like, the single life. I mean, I've been married for over 17 years now, you know what I mean? So, but there are those days where you're like, oh my gosh, I just need to get away for a minute. And your mind starts to wander, and say, like, I've had it happen where my mind says like, okay, what would it be like if I just gave up everything? And, my family, my walk with God, you know what I mean? Just getting to that like deep moment that you don't ever really want to be in. And then, and then it's like, God's like, this is what it would be like. Do you remember the despair? Do you remember the depression? Do you remember the pure darkness that it was? Why would you want to go back there? Why would you want to go to a place of void that, God is not in control? And it's just cool to know that God's there even in those crazy dark moments where you just all your thoughts, he's just like, nah, remember,
yeah.
remember Egypt.
Yeah.
But it's good. I mean, that's the kind of God we serve, that even, even in the moments where we're just having dreams or having thoughts, just, on a regular live life basis, that he turns those moments into teachable moments.
Oh yeah.
I love that. I love that kind of stuff. He's been doing that a lot with me lately. Just reminding me, he's like, you know what? Yeah, the world is crazy. The world's psychotic right now, but I've got this. You know, he's still on the throne. He's still sitting there, you know, probably thinking that we're crazy, you know, but he's still there. He still loves us. He still cares for us. Any ending thoughts?
No, I don't know what to.
Okay. All right. I'll wrap it up. Make this awkward.
I'm sorry.
No, it's me. I'm going to make it awkward. You ready?
Yeah.
But it was good talking with you. Good catching up. Good, you know, to see where you're at now and see how good God is to us, even though we're trash at times.
Yeah.
But thank you for sitting at your table for however long it's been down chatting. It's been good to catch up with you.
Oh yeah. I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you for asking me to be on this video.
Oh, no problem. No problem. It's always good when we get together.
Yeah, I know.
Good. Yeah, good. I use that term loosely. No, I'm kidding. It's been great. All right, dude. I'm going to stop recording now.
Okay.